This is a game in round 3 of the blue tournament between R3G1, Pain 1, Panda Warrior commanding Tylis and AVA Derta commanding Rome. It's Schlacht von Tours, Battle of Tours. Quite nice map, I think. Gives the option to engage either on open terrain or in a forest, should one so wish. So this is a good map for infantry, or if you have cavalry that you want to use, you can take the engagements out in the open. It's going to be fairly easy to nullify a skirmishing advantage in this battle. For Panda Warrior and Tylis, we have 3 raiding horse, 3 Celtic slingers, 6 tribals, 2 Oathsworn, 4 Levy Freemen, and 1 light horse for some reason. I don't really know why he would pick a light horse instead of 4 raiding horsemen. I believe he could have brought 4 raiding horsemen, but it might be a price issue. Not really sure, but I mean 3 raiding horse on this map should be enough. If Rome decides to bring an elephant, this isn't the best map to bring an elephant, and elephants against Tylis, there are just so many javelins available. Now for Rome, we have a Praetorian Guard, which is... You don't often see Praetorian Guard, and for good reason, I think. Then we have Armored Legionaries, Evocati Cohort, and Armored Legionaries, so I believe we have 6 Armored Legionaries. Few Legionary Cavalry, 3 Legionary Cavalry, Levies, Balearic Slingers, another Levy unit. Then we have some Vigile speed bumps. The reason why I think Praetorian Guard are not... essentially not cost effective enough compared to a unit like... Let's see here. Compared to a unit like Evocati, is that sure they do have more weapon damage and melee attack than the Evocati, but overall their stats are not impressive compared to what you get with Evocati. One of the special things and the strengths of Rome is that Rome has very good sub-elite infantry, and the same thing goes for the price of Armored Legionaries compared to Evocati. I'm not able to justify the... With Armored Legionaries, you're getting 60 health, 95 armor, 65 morale. With Evocati, you're getting 90, 60, 65. You're getting slightly less melee defense with Evocati, but you're also getting a higher melee attack value. So, I'd much rather have 61 melee attack than the slight increase in armor from the Armored Legionaries. I don't think Armored Legionaries are a good unit, but in terms of cost effectiveness, I just don't... it's a bit of a toss-up between those units, but in this instance, where you can only bring 8 sword units, it kind of makes sense to go for Armored Legionaries, but still, I would have liked to see some Syrians for Rome here instead of the Levies and the Balearics. Syrians are very nice against barbarian factions, due to their barbarian factions overall only having a 40% chance to block missiles. The exception being Suebi, of course, with their great Germanic wood shields and hex shields. So a bit of maneuvering early on. Panda Warrior is using a very nice formation here. Wedge, sort of an inverted wedge formation. Echelon formation, I guess. So any direction Rome is going to engage in here, Tylis is going to be able to kite away and engage at will. Sending the Roman force head-on is going to be suicide. It's going to be so easy for Panda to flank. And this formation is also going to make it very easy for him to skirmish, while protecting his skirmishers from the Legionary Cavalry. So it's a formation that I haven't seen used before on this map, but it makes a lot of sense. A very smart formation against a Roman build such as this, that has its strength concentrated in the center. The strong center is largely nullified by the formation of Panda Warrior. And also, this is very dangerous, keeping your strong units on the flanks like this unsupported, no units to screen. Praetorian Guard not going to take a huge amount of damage from the Celtic Slingers, but even slight damage taken means that more Praetorian Guard is going to die when it's engaged against units like Oathstone and Tribal Warriors. So you don't really want to have Celtic Slingers firing at your Praetorian Guard for an extended amount of time. And these Vigiles are moving up to screen away the Celtic Slingers, which is nicely done, but there aren't enough units here to really protect the Praetorian Guard. And Panda Warrior is of course screening the Praetorian Guard with his skirmishers, firing with his raiding horse into the side of the Praetorian Guard. And if you need to keep your strong units on a flank, keeping them on the right flank is not a good idea, because this is going to mean that Panda Warrior is going to be able to fire into the unprotected side of the Praetorian Guard, the side where the shield isn't going to block missiles. And that makes these volleys from raiding horsemen very dangerous. Already 3 Praetorian Guard dropped and a lot of hit point damage done. So the Vigiles trying to chase away the Levy Freeman. Levy Freeman gave them a quick volley. They're sort of getting out of position, so Derta is wisely pulling them away, trying to use his own skirmishers to ward away these raiding horsemen. But it's going to be super easy for Panda Warrior to kite the missiles for a while. And when he's reorganizing his Praetorian Guard here, they're actually going to take a substantial amount of damage from both slingers and javelins. But they are better off like this. But this is not good for the Praetorian Guard, just losing men and not getting anything in return. Each of these men lost is quite important, actually. They need to have all their men available for maximum tankiness and to be cost effective. And at this point, it's just losing so many. These Vigiles are also losing men. Panda Warrior just kiting away in the center here. He wants to do more damage to Rome since he has the skirmishing advantage. So Rome is kind of mirroring the echelon formation of Panda, but the opposite way, and this is going to be beneficial for Panda Warrior. Sending in his Levy Freeman against the Vigiles here. The Levies are firing at the Levy Freeman, which isn't the best of ideas. They're doing significant friendly fire to their own units now. Panda Warrior using his raiding horse, very nice in pushing up against the Balearic Slingers, doing damage to the Legionary Cavalry and to the Praetorian Guard. Almost 20 Praetorian Guard down already. So in the skirmishing here, Panda Warrior being very patient and gaining the upper hand by damaging the Praetorian Guard. The Praetorian Guard isn't really supported over here. So the charge from the Oathstone General should mean that even though these Vigiles are sort of in the way, they're going to get routed quickly. And look at how quickly the Praetorian Guard is dying to these Oathstone. The Vigiles weren't able to blunt the charge significantly, they just disintegrated. Fire incoming into the backs of the Legionaries here. Panda doing a nice job in getting his Spear Warriors in here. Cavalry counter tactics is going to absolutely destroy the Legionary Cavalry. Nicely done here, getting the Legionary Cavalry into the raiding horse, but the Legionary Cavalry was significantly depleted. Same story over here. The Evocati were charged by these light horse. Nice charge here in the center from Legionary Cavalry, but they're getting attacked in the rear by Legionary Cavalry. More javelins. So this Tribal Warrior is not going to do too well, but losing a Legionary Cavalry like that is devastating for Rome. And over here, the units are just getting picked apart. Praetorian Guard dying without doing basically anything. The Legatus of Rome is in trouble. Really like what Panda Warrior is doing here and just pulling away. Rome is not able to engage where they are strongest. The Praetorian Guard have basically been nullified without... they've taken down about... They're going to take down probably about 30 oaths or maybe a bit more. But again, super inefficient use of Praetorian Guard. And here the Legatus is about to go down. The Roman units are sort of starting to blow up in the center, and again Panda Warrior using a very nice defensive position with his Tribal Warriors, holding with the Levy Freemen in the center, denying the Roman units the ability to charge at his Tribals. This depleted Legionary Cavalry is going to rush into the Tribals that are supporting with javelins. Raiding horsemen caused mayhem in the backlines of Rome here. The Legatus is still alive, but probably not going to be able to save these levies from the raiding horse. The Balearics are caught by spear warriors. The Oathsworn general is... he's starting to take a bit of damage, but he should do fine against these armored legionaries. Especially when the Roman general is going to die. This legionary cavalry is just getting wrecked by the Celtic slingers. The Celtic slingers getting very nice kills here. And remember, these are high value kills because they've been doing damage against cavalry and Praetorian Guard. And again, Panda Warrior being super patient with his units, taking the engagements he knows he can win. Taking care of the Legatus. The Legatus is also getting killed by the Levy unit, so not really good for Rome this. Nice support there from the Spear Warriors. Stop chasing the Balearic Slingers. And they're going to get a nice rear charge on the Armored Legionaries. And even the depleted Oathsworn unit was able to absolutely wreck the Armored Legionaries. And these engagements, the Tribal Warriors, they're going to start losing in the end. But there are so many units for Tylis. Great charges here from the Oathsworn against Evocati. And instead of just rushing blindly like a madman, Panda has done this very methodically and picked apart the Roman units both by skirmishing and by charges with his very strong infantry. So just things like this, putting the Celtic slingers in the rear, firing into the backs of the Evocati cohort. It's going to mean that these tribal warriors are going to defeat the Evocati and be available for rear charging other units. So this is not looking good for Rome at all. Rome is getting surrounded, ganged up on, and destroyed, basically. These Balearics in the forest haven't really been able to be effective. The raiding horse were super aggressive against them. The levies are probably... no, they still have some ammunition that they're going to pour into the Oathsworn. They are killing some Oathsworn, but it's too little too late at this point. They're getting fired upon by this mercenary Thracian Peltas that I didn't notice earlier. But it's going to be able to do a lot of damage in the late game. The mercenary Thracian Peltas have a very nice weapon damage for being a skirmish unit, good melee attack. And they also have great armor penetration on their Balkan sword. Spear Warriors throwing a volley of air into the backs of these Armored Legionaries. The Armored Legionaries are holding out, they are grinding, but the Thracian Peltas are going to do so much damage to them, firing into their... well, they are sort of firing into the shielded side here, so not super effective, but they don't need to be used to maximum effect at this point, because there's just nothing left for Rome. Spear Warriors charging into the backs of the Armored Legionaries. The Oathsworn that was surrounded, you can see it's starting to lose, but the Spear Warriors came in and helped them. Then the Oathsworn charge in to seal the deal for these Roman units. And there is a lot of Tylis left on the field now. The Roman army is going to start wavering from army losses. And even 65 morale isn't going to help against that when the general is dead and there are these many, or there's this amount of enemy forces left on the field. So, a very convincing victory there by Panda Warrior and Tylis. You can see he did a lot of damage with his skirmishers. Oathsworn General did a very good job. Same with the raiding horse, didn't get an impressive amount of kills, but they got very important kills. And you can see how inefficient, how cost inefficient the Roman build was. The skirmishers weren't able to do much. Cavalry wasn't able to do much. And I think even on this map, going for the higher priced Armored Legionaries instead of Evocati or even veterans means that Rome is going to have less cavalry and less strong skirmishing. Against Tylis, I really would have liked to see 2 Syrian archers, maybe a few more vigiles to screen, drop the Praetorian Guard, maybe something like 6 veterans, 2 Evocati would have been really nice, and then Rome could have afforded maybe a bit more cavalry, take out the Praetorian Guard, could have afforded more stronger skirmishers, because these Celtic slingers left unopposed, this just shows how dangerous even crappy slingers can be in the game if they're able to fire for the entire game, and these units were. These are super important kills, super important damage done by the Celtic slingers. And the way Panda Warrior used his army, his tribal warriors didn't need to get hundreds of kills with rare charging. These kills are sort of deceptively low because many of these units broke to rare charging and such. So very nice use of the Tylis build here. Very nice deployment by Panda. Very nice use in being able to isolate the Roman units and destroy them. Let's see here. The Roman army just caused about, let's see here, about 45 friendly fire casualties, which isn't massive, but it wasn't game breaking for Derta in this case, but you definitely want to try to reduce the amount of friendly fire casualties as much as possible. Panda Warrior also causing quite a few friendly fire casualties, but he could afford it because he was in such a good position. So Panda Warrior wins the first battle. It's a best of 3, so the first player to win 2 games is going to advance to the next round. Strength and honor.